Randy Fine is only Jewish Republican in the Florida legislature and has been a strong supporter of state's governor, Ron DeSantis, for several years. Fine served as DeSantis Jewish outreach chair during the 2018 gubernatorial campaign, backed DeSantis' re-election bid last year and endorsed him for president. Then, 2 weeks ago, Fine decided to shift his support to former President Donald Trump. Reason? Anti-Semitism. According to Fine, DeSantis did not adequately address the numerous neo-Nazi marches that have taken place in Florida in recent years. The Hamas attack on October 7 was the last straw. I spoke with Fine by phone recently to understand DeSantis' behavior and why Fine is now turning to a man with a long history of using anti-Semitic tropes and all-around bigotry. Below is our conversation, edited for length and clarity. Over the years, many people have come to support Donald Trump for different reasons, him being a businessman, the economy, immigration. But you support him in part because of concerns about anti-Semitism. Can you talk a little bit about this? I was a huge supporter of the president throughout his 4-year term. I was there when the Abraham Accords were signed. I've been to the White House at least a half dozen times. So I was always a big fan of his work. My endorsement of the governor wasn't "I am against Donald Trump." If that makes sense. That's right. Had to choose and you chose. But didn't. I was very unhappy with the silence around the rise of Nazism. And while I wasn't publicly hammering the governor on this issue, I was being very vocal privately and asking why we weren't using the laws we had in place. So were many of his Jewish supporters. So what was his reaction? The answer is what you hear. I don't know if it's true. But he says he doesn't want to glorify them by talking about it. He questions whether these are real. He will call them fake and thinks they are doing it to make him look bad. And he said this repeatedly for 18 months. And you felt like you couldn't reach him about it? I couldn't. But Nazis are scary on some level. They are definitely at a very high level. Look, I am not worried about these neo-Nazis carrying out the Holocaust in America. The situation is bad and we need to do something about it. Do not get me wrong. But Hamas is on a completely different level. And so, while I was unhappy personally, I changed as a person on October 7th. And when saw these protests break out in Florida within 24 hours, I knew had prepared the ground by passing legislation that could deal with it. Which protests are you talking about? Pro-Hamas protests were held in Tampa and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The other thing I realized was that if Donald Trump had been president, October 7th would not have happened. I bet every dollar that this didn't happen in his 4 years. Isn't it possible that October 7th had nothing to do with Trump? No one is afraid of Joe Biden unless you're the one cleaning the